Cool! Hi! Welcome in episode 46 where I'm with Brian Clark. So, Brian is very well known in the Twitch universe, but I asked him a few questions to know him better.
So first, let's just, very high level, you are a Microsoft employee, you are a cloud advocate, right? Just like me. But you are focusing on which area? Like, what's your focus? Next thing is, do you think you have a superhero? Let's say, like you're learning super fast, or like you can program 10,000 different languages, or like, do you have what's your superpower as a developer?
Ooh, oh, for me? Oh my gosh, Frank, what is with all these hard questions? Holy
yeah, we
cow,
level up
man.
while. If you didn't know, it's the second episode Brian is coming, because last time we had way too much fun. So we didn't cover all the material we had planned, so today we continue. And you know what, one thing I should have done is share the first episode. Let me post that before, so I'm just trying to do that so you have more time to think in your head, right? So if you want to watch, not right now, because right now we're watching episode 2, but if you want to watch episode 1 of Brian being on All Around Azure, you could watch at this URL here, so cloud5minute.ca/AAA for All Around Azure, episode 37. So yes, I will let you now answer. What's your superpower?
Well, really quick, I want to. We have Beldathis in chat was saying that they wanted to be a game developer too when they were young. It's led them to learn a bit of Ruby scripting for making RPG games, role-playing games, and they also tried C# with XNA, RIP in parentheses, but then quickly abandoned. Now they do machine learning research. That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
I'm glad to hear about that, Beldathis. Thank you for sharing.
So we'll keep the rubber table question for after.
Okay, so the question you had asked me was if I could call out so this is being very self-aware kind of question. If I could call out a superpower I have as
a thing that you feel is your superpower. Like, I'm not looking for I'm the best, like I'm the strongest, or I'm the faster to no, based like on that thing that you feel like it's your superpower because you're never afraid to jump in this kind of stuff because whatever.
Yeah. I would say, I don't know, like, with this question, everything that's coming to mind is less about technical superpowers for me and more about human and social side of being a developer. I think that I feel I have a strong sense of, and that is like just being, I don't know, because you mentioned like not that you're the best developer or fastest developer, like, and anybody that knows, I know you know this about me too, but for folks that might be watching this and learning about me for the first time, I have a strong aversion towards like arrogance and like big egos, and so like I kind of over-index going the other way in terms of like, you know, putting myself down kind of thing, but in that sense I feel I'm probably a superpower would be maybe, you know, being humble and just like knowing that I don't know everything and being willing to learn and show compassion to other people, other developers that are going through similar things, you know, learning as well kind of thing, and trying to just do their best and make a living and that kind of thing.
Well, I think it's a very good superpower. I think it's totally good. You know, like here say like Brian's superpower is coding with VS Code using only voice. So I'm assuming you did some progress on that work you're doing on your own stream, right?
Yeah, we've been doing this not experiment, but just trying to experience and see what it's like trying to program with just your voice. Don't use your hands at all. Start a whole project from scratch with just your voice, and it's been. We've found some success with doing it. There's definitely some hurdles and challenges with that, and it's helpful to gather that kind of feedback and see, you know, where we as a community or just companies can try and, you know, fill in those gaps and make things better. But yeah, it's been fun, and thank you, Beldathis, for bringing that up. I've been having fun with that. I'm glad to see that you've been enjoying it as well.
Well, like maybe you don't feel like it's your superpower, but it's definitely a big strength to be able to jump on something you don't know live on camera and code with it. Like that's not easy. Like to have, like I've been trying to do that and feel always very comfortable, but you've been doing that for a while on your stream. Like I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway, and it will be fun, and like you make it a show of it. So like it's really good. Okay, so now let's go with the chat question from Robert Table asking, what is the one technology you've never used that you want to in the next 6 months? So something you never touch, but in the next 6 months, it's kind of a promise to yourself. I want to try that.
I appreciate that question. I honestly don't know. Well, I guess there's one that I have kind of tried out a little bit, but I haven't really dug deep into it and given a strong kind of look. And I would say that's Vue.js probably for me. I have some side projects, actually for work, for this channel even, to like present the analytics of this channel and like how it does and things like that, so that folks that need that data can get access to it.
Well, to improve,
and right now
it's important. I'm the first one looking for those things because it is important.
Yeah, so I have a tool that's built out that does that I can share that data more easily from the channel, because otherwise you have to log in, and we don't want to be sharing logins and stuff like that. So anyway, I built a tool like that, but it's a very rough UI, and so I feel it's an opportunity to apply a nicer UI and a framework that can help with doing that to make it look better. And Vue.js has been on my mind to do that. So I would say probably that one, but I don't know that it's a fair answer because of the fact that Robert Table's included. It's a technology you've never used. I have, but not into an actual project. I've done like just reading a little bit about the documentation and maybe like a hello world kind of spin up. The CLI tool scaffolds out the project for me, and I run that and see how it goes, right?
Well,
so that's kind of been
I think it's fair. Like that doesn't count. Like just like you saw it, never like really we all know that a hello world give you a glimpse of what it could be and stuff like that, but you really learn a language or a tech when you decide, okay, I want to go there, not there. right. I want to do this thing, and now now you need to work around and find your solution and stuff. So so I think it's pretty good.
So they're asking, and this is Loa XV2. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Says, how long do you all think?
14 years old. Sorry, it was me. So being slow. Continue, Brian.
Yeah. So as a 14-year-old looking to, I imagine, just get into programming from the start, right? Let us know. Give us some more context about that, and let us know what the situation is. And then they go on to say, or what programming language do you think I should be programming? So I don't know, Frank, if anything comes to mind off the bat that you want to jump in. Otherwise, I'm happy to go for it.
You're the guest. Go.
All right. My answer to that is to figure out what is the things. Well, one, I would say as you're learning programming, you don't have to have an original idea. You don't have to come up with some new product that's gonna, you think is gonna start a business for you, kind of thing. That seems to be a common theme that I've found with people that ask this question. I'm not saying this is necessarily you as well, LoAX V2, but a common theme I've found is people think that they want to get into programming, and part of the reason why they want to get into programming is because they want to start a business of their own and make the next big website or something like that, which is fine. That's good to have that aspiration. But the point I want to make with this, though, is as you're learning or looking to learn about programming so you can figure out how to build those things, don't worry about trying to build that thing right off the bat. Focus on learning first, and don't worry about having to create, while you're learning, to practice that learning. Don't worry about it being practiced against your actual thing that you want to build just yet, or even having that idea just yet. You can recreate existing apps just to get that practice under your belt, just to get that experience so that you can learn and get the practicality of actually writing the code to build something. So don't worry about if it's the same thing that's already been built, like a to-do app, or even just the Hello World stuff, which is the beginner stuff. So I hope that helps kind of clarify that, to set some of the groundwork, the foundation in answering this question. In terms of how long it would take, I don't want you to put any pressure on yourself either in terms of like having a set time frame, because the reality is you're going to, if you're going to stick with this industry and you find that you really are interested in doing programming for a living, you're going to find you need to have this mentality of, I'm always going to be learning. I always have to adjust and learn new programming languages, new technology.
New way to use the same tech. Like I'm relearning JavaScript because back in the day, 15 years ago, it was definitely not the same as today. So yeah, even if it's the same language.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so the key with that is you're always going to be learning. So I would not try to put like a time frame on how much time it should take you to learn something. Just have a goal of, you want it. Let's say you mentioned C#. If that's a programming language that interests you, go for it. Run with it. There's a reason why you've had this gut feeling that you want to try that out. Focus on just spending as much time as you can among balancing other things going on in your life, and spend time on learning and making progress with learning C#. If you were to ask me to, like, if somebody came in completely fresh, they didn't know what language to start with, I would lean towards Python right now, and maybe a second option would be JavaScript. Those two I've found to be very beginner friendly in terms of just getting introduced to programming in general. And then the other programming languages are all, unique and bring value in their own way. But I think as a beginner, completely new, don't know, and haven't learned any other concepts of programming prior to starting this, Python and JavaScript are two options to pick from with that.
True, they are very accessible. You could create many different things. I think when you are learning, it's easier when you can write some piece of code and see some result. If you can repeat that very easily and like on-prem, web, like on devices like Raspberry Pi and like what's the other little IoT thing? I forgot the name. Arduino. Like there's and like Python and JavaScript will be helpful for those. I learn on C and C++, but you need to compile it to see the result. And on like when you start, it's much easier to just do console application. Otherwise, it's getting more complex to, like, if you do web or if you do nice interface on a PC. It's different things, I think. But it's better if you try to build something, if you have something in mind. Like I mentioned previously, it's only then that you really make a move, right?
Yes. I see Melindu in chat says I learned COBOL and Fortran. LOL. No worries.
On my curriculum at school, one of the course was COBOL, and I was like, what? No, I don't want to learn COBOL. Like, I want to learn something else. But the course was Cobalt, and we did something else completely.
So one last note on the whole learning thing, because I think you bring up a good point in terms of, like, you mentioned C, C++. Part of the reason why I suggest Python and JavaScript is because what you kind of mentioned. What tends to happen in programming in general is there's so many different things to potentially learn that go into it. Like, there's so many tools and technology that can be bundled even within Python. But the idea is you want to kind of like block those out for now, especially at the beginning and just learning programming, and focus on learning a programming language so you can get that foundation underneath you. And then you can worry about pulling in these other tools and stuff like that that will help you in building out applications with that language. So it's really hard to reduce the friction and the distraction from other tooling and just even technologies and libraries that plug into this whole idea of a programming language in itself. So yeah. Try to stay focused on the language.
But since you already know other language, like the more you learn languages, the easier it gets to learn new more, because a loop will stay a loop, a condition will be a condition. But at the same time, like, you could mix up different languages and say, oh, how do I write a loop, a for each loop in this language? And like, but then like a quick search will, okay, and then like you know where you are and you progress. But I enjoy the road, and again, how long, it's very difficult. It depends. Like, if you're at school, then you have other priorities than learning the C#. C# though is very well documented and like things like that. So today it's also very accessible. Not like if you're trying to learn COBOL or Fortran, documentation would be a little bit more harder to find. So it's definitely an easy language to pick up. So you should be able to have a glimpse kind of quickly to create something, but then to call you like, I know C#, that could take a little bit of time. So don't be too hard on you. Enjoy the journey, I would say. That would be my best, not advice, but you know, keep that in mind.
I have more video for you, so just here I have other interview that I did on the channel, and here other parts of the episode 46. If you like this video, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. It's very helpful. Thank you for watching, and see you in another episode.